So I spent hours setting up a custom GPT. I gave it personas. I gave it instructions. I gave it so many instructions that when I exported them and put them into a Word document, they were like 10 pages of instructions. And I used so many instructions. I put so much content into those instructions to try and get this chat GPT, this custom GPT to work, that I used up all the space. It was like, yeah, I couldn't put any more instructions in. So I gave it documents. I gave it everything it needed that I thought it needed to give me the results that I was looking for without it hallucinating. And what I mean by hallucinating, if you haven't heard this term, it just makes stuff up. And I wanted as accurate as possible. I wanted the output to be as accurate as possible based on all of these instructions, all of these personas, all of these documents that I was building this custom GPT on. I even went and created a video, and if you want, you can check it out, on how to do this. And I had high hopes. So I get all this stuff done with the custom GPT, put tons of time and energy into it, and then I started using it. And then I found it was a total train wreck. It would completely ignore all the stuff that I'd done. It was just like, it was just a waste of time. And what I came to realize is that custom GPTs aren't what we normally think they are. All right. So let's go over here, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. And I want to share how frustrated I came with using custom GPTs. And I'm going to actually show you proof of just how off the rails it will go, even using a custom GPT that was, quote, in the mainstream. It's out there for the public to use. You can use this one I'm going to show you in the video. You can actually go and use it, and you're going to find the results suck. Okay, I'm going to show you proof. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about in this video, and you'll get to actually see a custom GPT in action that just is not, it just misses the ball. All right, so let's kind of pop over there and take a look at this right now. What we've got here is ChatGPT. Hey, how about that? And I'm sure a lot of people have used it. There's other AIs out there that you can use, Claude AI, Google Gemini. And again, they all have similar capabilities. With Google Gemini, you can create Google Gems. That's the equivalent of a custom GPT. Claude has the equivalent as well. And what I've found is that I think using a ChatGPT project is going to end up being more efficient and give us better results. I don't know for sure, but I'm going to play around with it, and I'll be doing future videos to let you know how successful I am. But for now, let's take a peek at this. All right. So we have our ChatGPT open, and I've got some custom GPTs here. And I went and I actually added this thumbnail maker GPT. This is not mine. This is one that I went and grabbed that was available. If you go into GPTs and do Explore GPTs, and you go down in here, we've got this video AI by InVideo. Okay. And if you click on that and just take a peek at it, down here, look at this. This is InVideo.io. This is a company that specializes in helping people do videos for YouTube, right? And here they have this thumbnail maker 4.0. All right. And I've got this set up to actually use. All right. So I thought I'd have some fun and say, create a thumbnail for this video that you are watching right now. All right. This isn't the video. This isn't the thumbnail I used, and I'm going to tell you why in just a minute here. So I went into it. If you click into it right now, let's just open it up. And it says, make a thumbnail for my video. And you go in there, and it wants the title of the video. It's kind of slow right now. You can give it the title, and then it also asks for a summary and what have you. I did all that. All right. Here's the thumbnail that it made. All right, I'm going to blow this up. And you're looking at this, and when you visually, it looks pretty sharp, right? I mean, it's not, it's fancy. It's got a lot of colors. It's got a lot of content. And I mean, for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, you would look at this thumbnail and go, wow, this is a nice thumbnail. But it's not. It completely ignores all of the best practices for creating a thumbnail. This is from a company that's what these people do, right? and it completely missed the mark. And I'll tell you why. A thumbnail needs to really not be busy. And this is way, way too busy. You've got all kinds of things. Stop using custom GPTs. Go ahead and do this. And you get something completely wrong. It's going to skip the documents. It's trying to give you everything that's in the video and put it right in the thumbnail. And that's not what a thumbnail's for. A thumbnail is to get you curious, to say, whoa, this looks like it could be an interesting video. I'm going to click on it. And a thumbnail really should only have 3, 4, max 5 words on it. This thing's just covered in words, and it's covered in all these different, stickies and a robot. And yes, having a person there makes sense. But all that other text is distracting. And you're not going to be able to read it on a mobile device, even on if you blow this down to an actual YouTube thumbnail that you would normally see on YouTube, and that's about right there. You can't read this other stuff. It's a waste. And so they completely missed the ball with their custom GPT. Now, if they had done it a little bit more structured, there are ways to try and make this, maybe a little bit better. This prompt right here that says make a thumbnail for my video. It really should be make a thumbnail for my video using the instructions that make up this GPT, and that might help. But again, I've ran into this where I would give, and it's every day, all day long. I will give in my prompt. I'll describe the persona that I'm looking for. You're an expert YouTube creator. You know all of the best practices for creating YouTube thumbnails, and you know what things to stay away from when creating a thumbnail. Now, create a thumbnail for my video. Here's the title. Here's the summary, blah, 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 blah. And what does it do? Throws everything in the kitchen sink into that thumbnail. And then I have to come back and I have to tell it. Would an expert YouTube creator who runs successful YouTube channels, would this be the thumbnail that they would create? And it would come back and say no, and this is why. It's like, well, why did you do it then? I gave you a persona, and it would make up excuses. All right, and I'm sure you're all familiar with this. All right, so let's come back to this thumbnail that just failed miserably. All right, how do we fix it? Okay, so here's how I would come back and fix this. Okay, at least you've got a thumbnail maker that's going to create a thumbnail. Again, in a perfect world, if this thing was working efficiently, it would have done it the right way right away, and you wouldn't have to be struggling. Again, you have to know what you're doing in order to know that this is wrong. Do I know everything there is to know about thumbnails? No, but I know enough to know this is not a powerful thumbnail. So here's how I would fix this. We come in here and we say, right down here, it says, would you like any changes? Okay, so it goes through and explains what it did. And then right in here, it says, would you like any changes? All right. And it talks about, more dramatic, cleaner, less cluttered, a lot of good stuff. And so I say right here, yeah, I'd like some changes. This is a terrible thumbnail. It doesn't follow thumbnail best practices. Now, here's what I will oftentimes do. Can you list what those best practices are? And look at what it did. Yes. So it's analyzing its own output and letting you know what's wrong with it. Goes in here and talks about what was wrong with it. Can you go back in here and analyze what you just gave me and let me know if there's anything wrong and how it could be improved? Again, unfortunately, it can't just do it. Most of the time, it won't just do it right away for you and give you the right answer. You have to do this kind of stuff. So it just goes in and it says it's trying to explain the entire video. And that's what I mentioned earlier. It just threw up into the thumbnail everything that's in the video. That's not what a thumbnail's for. All right. And it's telling you right now what the best practices are. One clear idea. That thumbnail, this original thumbnail, has all kinds of ideas in it. Tons of ideas. All right. One clear idea. Minimal text. That thumbnail does not have minimal text. Large subject focus. So it goes through and it gives all the best practices. So let's have some fun with this real quick before we wrap this video up. We're going to scroll all the way down and say, okay, based on the best practices, which you just outlined, can you create a proper thumbnail? And let's just see what happens. All right, now this is significantly better. There are still some things I think I would tweak. Again, when you're creating your thumbnails, if you have your own picture that you use, I have a lot of pointing pictures, which you've seen probably on my YouTube thumbnails. You can at least use this now to give you an idea of what you want to put in your thumbnail, and then go over to Canva or go over to Adobe Express to create your thumbnail. A lot of times, if they're putting some a person in there like that, which is great, but I like to be able to use myself. You could start and say, create a just the background, and then you take that background and put it in Canva. And then you could say, okay, could you just create the text, ignored everything, and then you go and put that into Canva. But as this is right now, if you were just like, I don't care about whether or not I'm on there or not, this is pretty good. I would still probably tweak this a little bit more. Ignored everything. This is not too bad. Here now you're trying to put too much into it. I would take this out, do exactly what I asked. Sure, here's the recipe for the soup. You've already got this portraying that. And using arrows, that's nice. I might make the arrow red instead of white. You've got a white background here, and then you got a white arrow. But this is significantly better. All right. And so the kind of in conclusion, the main thing here to keep in mind is that custom GPTs, you can put a lot of time and energy into creating them, but they're not perfect. They're going to be assistants, and you have to know what you're doing and or know the proper prompts to have it go back and say, can you please go back and check your work and make sure this is following best practices. Um, and I think just keeping in mind in general that AI is not going to be that whole setup that's similar to software where you give it an input and expect a specific output. That's not going to be the case. All right. And that don't know for sure, but I'm going to explore these projects. I think the projects are going to be more efficient, and they're going to be where you're going to be able to keep things organized, and it'll be easier to refer to the documents and personas and the instructions that make up the project. But again, I just think projects are going to be better than GPTs. And again, because of my experience using the GPTs, I don't think I'm going to be doing a whole lot with them anymore. Again, it could just come down to having better prompts. Again, I think that if the original prompt that we looked at here actually said, please refer to the instructions that make up this custom GPT and create a thumbnail according to best practices. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.